That was the promise of redemption and then just kidding. So a trust us token isn't really going to cut it. There's nothing technical that stops the US from doing the exact same thing, but this time with stablecoins. And that's why there is so much distrust in the world about moving to this new digital system. So then the next question is, will the US actually do this then? And I actually think it's more possible, maybe even inevitable, that the US is already experimenting with this idea, just not in the way that we hear about it. For example, Michael Saylor, he was very public, right? He's advised Donald Trump and his family that America should have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. His plan was if the US sold off all its gold and bought Bitcoin, it would crush gold prices, it would hurt competing countries like China and Russia, and at the same time, it would send Bitcoin's price way up and recapitalize America's balance sheet. But in the end, that's not what ended up happening. Instead, during Trump's presidency, the idea of this US Bitcoin reserve, it ended up being just an idea that was teased, but it was never fully something that became real. The US said it would never use taxpayer dollars to buy any Bitcoin, and it really hasn't been buying any, at least not that we know of publicly. So I don't think it's going to happen the way Michael Saylor was advising publicly it would happen. But this is where the private angle comes in. Because while the government might not be openly buying Bitcoin, there's a backdoor. There's another way this could happen behind the scenes. So think about MicroStrategy, right? This stock. The company has basically become a public Bitcoin proxy with Michael Saylor. They've been buying Bitcoin nonstop. They now hold hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins. So what if, instead of the US government buying Bitcoin directly and then risking global panic, what if it's easier to just let a corporation do it first? That way, it doesn't look like some central bank operation and no one's really paying attention. And then later, if Bitcoin really does become a strategic asset, the US government could take in and take a partial stake in MicroStrategy, the same way it took 10% ownership in companies like Intel. So this precedent already exists. I mean, think about it. Why would the US openly risk crashing the gold market with a $1 trillion Bitcoin purchase or a forced stablecoin rollout? Why would it sell its gold if it still has any, right? It's way easier and much smarter just to let private companies do the heavy lifting first, let them experiment, and then the US government could come in and adopt what's already working. That's how the